Hello and welcome to tutorial number 13 in the series of logical reasoning lectures. Some people believe that 13 is an unlucky number. So bad. But that's all the more reason for us to learn something worthwhile here. This time, we are going to discuss a tabular arrangement problem with lots of data. They'll require a bigger table with more rows and columns that many people aren't comfortable with. But then many people aren't comfortable with the number 13 either. So let's try and dispel the myth today. Let's go to the problem now and check how comfortable we are with these problems now. This problem talks about 5 people who are in 5 different professions and stay in 5 different cities. Even the colors of the cars that they drive are different, and each of them works for either a Korean or a Japanese company. Now we need to tabulate all this data with the help of the 11 statements given in the problem. Now you should pause the video here for some time and attempt the question. Go back to the video once you are done with it. Let's proceed with solving the problem now. The first step would be to make a table like this. The table contains 5 columns. The first is name, then company, then profession, city, and car color. Now let's look at the statements and start filling this table. Statement 2 reads that both the architect and the person who drives a white car work for a Japanese company. So it basically gives us 2 pieces of data. One, that the architect works for a Japanese company, and two, that the person who drives a white car works for a Japanese company. So let's put it in 2 different rows. Let's take this row first. Let's put the architect bit here. Now let's take the second row and put the second piece of data in this row. So we still don't know the name of this person who drives the white car, but we know that he works for a Japanese company. Let's move forward and look at statement 6 now. Now this is about 3 different people, all of whom work for a Korean company. One drives a grey car, one lives in London, and the third lives in New York. So let's pick this row first and put Korean and grey in this row. Now the second row. Let's put Korean and London in this row. And now the fifth row. Let's put Korean and New York in this row. Now this is interesting, as you can see that we have filled some data in all the 5 rows of this table, but we still haven't put even a single name over there. We chose these 2 statements because they give us the best possible spread on the table. What we definitely know is that these 5 individuals are different. Now let's move forward and look at statement 7 now. It says that the architect drives a yellow car. This is the architect in the first row. So let's just put yellow in the car color cell of this row. Now let's look at statement 4. It says that Mark is a lawyer and that he works for a Japanese company. Now these are the 2 rows of the Japanese companies. We can see that the profession of the person in the first row is architect. So Mark cannot be placed in the first row. It means that Mark has to occupy the second row only. So we put Mark and lawyer in the second row. Now let's look at statement 1. It says that the engineer lives in Delhi. So engineer and Delhi basically becomes a block. Now if you look at this table carefully, you would realize that there is just one row out of the 5 in which both the profession and the city cells are vacant. And that's the third row. Look at these 2 cells. There is no other place in the table in which engineer and Delhi can be put together. So let's fill them up. Now look at this cell, the very first cell of the table. We will try and find out who occupies this cell. Let's proceed. Look at statement 5. It says that Brendon works for a Korean company. But we can see that this person works for a Japanese company. It means that he cannot be Brendon. Let's move forward and look at statement 8 now. It tells us that Rohit doesn't drive a yellow car. But we can see here in the first row that this person drives a yellow car. It means that this person cannot be Rohit. So let's cancel Rohit as well. Now look at statement 3. It tells us that Bosco is not an architect. But we can see here in the first row that this person is an architect, which very clearly means that this person is not Bosco. So Brendon, Rohit and Bosco are ruled out, and Mark is already placed in the second row. So it's very clear now that this person has to be the last person left, who is Shahid. So let's write Shahid here and move forward. Now the next statement, that statement 10, tells us that Shahid doesn't live in Chicago. Now if you look at the fourth column of this table, that's the city column, there are just two vacant cells in the first row and the second row. So if Chicago cannot be placed in the first row because Shahid doesn't live in Chicago, it has to be placed in the second row. That's this cell. So let's just write Chicago here. Now the only cell left in this column is this one in the first row, and the only city left is Kolkata. So it's obvious now that this cell would be occupied by Kolkata. So let's write Kolkata here and move forward. Now look at statement 9. It tells us that neither Brendon nor Rohit is a waiter by profession. We can see from the table that Shahid and Mark are architect and lawyer respectively, and neither Brendon nor Rohit is a waiter. It means that the fifth person left, that's Posco, has to be the waiter. So let's make a block like this. Now there are two rows in this table in which this block can be placed. These two. Let's leave it like this and look at statement 3 now. This statement tells us that Posco doesn't live in London. It means that Posco cannot be placed in the fourth row because the person who occupies the fourth row has to be staying in London. It means that this Posco waiter block has to be fitted in the last row of the table. This one. So let's adjust it here. Now look at the third column, that's profession. There's just one vacant cell in this column now, the fourth one. And the only profession left to be placed in the table is doctor. So it's obvious now that this person is a doctor. Let's move forward and look at statement 11 now. It tells us that the doctor doesn't drive a red car. Now we can see that the doctor has been placed in the fourth row. So red should be placed in this cell, in the fifth row. So let's write red here. Now if we look at the last column, that's the column of the car colors, there's just one vacant cell in the fourth row, and the only color left is black. So let's put black here and move forward. Now statement 8 tells us that Rohit doesn't drive a grey car. It means that Rohit cannot be placed in the third row. And then the only place left for Rohit would be in the fourth row, this cell, as there are just two vacant cells in the name column. So let's write Rohit here. Now look at the first column. There's just one vacant cell in the third row, this cell. And the only person left to be put on the table is Brendon. So let's fill this up with Brendon, and with this we have completed our table. Look how easily we could crack it. Just follow the methodology we have discussed since the start of the series. A few very basic things, not very hard to remember, and you will never face any problem in any such question. But yes, keep practicing, keep doing new questions. Each question will have a takeaway for you. There are no shortcuts to success. In the next tutorial, I'll discuss a problem based on scheduling. That's creating an itinerary for the Indian cricket team. Interesting subject. This is also quite a popular setup for logic puzzles. The idea is to expose you to various types which will make you feel familiar with them. I'll see you very soon. Keep working hard. Goodbye.